Just check my audio is working for a sec. Yep. Yep, we're working. Hello. Just check my audio is working for a sec. Inception. You know I love to do an Inception. Hopefully the frame rate is going to stay up today. We will see. As always, I will do my best to edit down the best bits from today in the next couple of days. But this is a different kind of stream, so those of you who are new to the channel, I do a couple of different types of content, or a few different types of content on this channel, and the weekly streams I do are called Indies Under the Knife, and you can see them here on my upcoming live streams. And those are games that have been sent to me by anyone out there, and I try and group them together based on a theme, and pick games that look interesting to me, and then I play 4 every Thursday and talk about them and talk about kind of game design and game design principles in general. There we go. And today is a special stream that only happens once a month because it's games from the Indie Game Clinic Discord. So we have a closed Discord that is for people who support this channel in some way, whether it is through Patreon or by helping with content or submitting their games. So often the games that are on this Indies Under the Knife stream, if I like the game, I send the developer an invite and they join the Discord, and then it's all a lovely big circle. And then I do other content like this. So coming up next week, we're going to have a live workshop on world building and environmental storytelling in games. And these workshops, I did one last week, narrative design for indie game devs, characterization and dialogue. These are sort of content taken from a course I used to teach at university level, sort of storytelling for game developers. And yeah, so that's kind of all the different stuff I do. I know sometimes people go onto a YouTube channel and they see someone doing one thing and they expect it to all be the same stuff. But this is a variety channel, which means I do more than one thing. But it's all focused on game design. So you won't really catch much talk about engines or the technical side of development here. And there's a few reasons for that. I think one is that there are loads of people who teach it better than me, who are actually programmers rather than game designers who sort of can do a bit of programming when they need to. And there's just so much of it. And there's not much kind of design content made by people who have worked in design as a full-time job. So that's why I'm here. Hi Novice, hi Jill, hi Safe. I've got a hat on today, and that is because my hair is getting increasingly green screen unfriendly as I grow it out. So I've got this look at the moment. It's sort of like halfway between Jack Black and Jack White from the White Stripes. So sort of a Jack Grey, if you will. Thanks for joining. We have these games to go through today. I'm going to look at Land Trains by Baz first, because this didn't get a look in last time because I couldn't get it to work. We've got Spinning Comet Escape from the dev who made the Wildfires, which was a cool game I checked out on Indies Under the Knife a few months ago. Roller Puzzle, Kilton, which I still haven't played and I'm quite excited to get a go of. If the I might have to use the itch version if the Steam one isn't working. Pandora Legion of 2, Gun in a Well, Negative Space, and I'm not sure if we'll get round to Hazard Pay in time. I'm probably going to have to give each one of these 15 or 20 minutes maximum because I've got a hard stop in 2 hours for a call with a client. So let's just go through these as quick as we can. And I've prioritised Land Trains first because it kind of crashed last time and I didn't get to play it. But I'm trying to play the newer games that we haven't seen before first, and then we'll move on to anything that's like a repeat of something we've seen in a previous month after that. So this is Land Trains by Baz. Let me know how the music level works for you. I've got some auto ducking and stuff going on with my mic, but I can't trust the little green bars on OBS because they don't really correspond to how loud things actually sound, as I've found in my testing. So Baz, I can see Baz has started to do a controller implementation on this. Maybe I should use the controller. I don't know. This is an odd one. I always say to people, if you're making an action game where you control a character, it should be controller native, really, designed for a controller if it's a platformer or something. But this one is odd. I'm not sure if my brain reads it as a controller game or not. Okay, so I'm going to skip through a lot of the dialogue, but basically what we've got in Baz's game is a mixture of snake and tower defense. So you move the snake and then you have points where you get to add guns to it. And this first level of the tutorial just takes you out of the area. Oh, yeah. Well, I think any blunt can be elusive if you just don't know where it is, right? One of the things I've been thinking about the visuals of this game that I think would be a lot of reward for a very simple thing is the black grid in the background. I think if the color of that was like less harsh, then all of the black outlines on all of the important stuff would stand out more. And the grid is important because you move on a grid, because that's how Snake works. But I think all of the other objects would be a little bit more legible if that grid color was like a muted green or something like that rather than a harsh black. Here you can upgrade your wagons. Wagons may be affected by other nearby wagons. These buffs can significantly enhance the power of the upgrades you build. So I can move along. I feel like that should slide rather than clicking. It's a very minor thing, but so you can see at the top, it's got like the passive things on that wagon. Wagon number, that's giving 2+2 range to wagon number 2. That's giving a rate of fire. So this stuff up at the top that tells you the impact of the different wagons on each other, I'm not quite sure how it works yet, and it'd be interesting to find out if I can make sense of it. I'm going to put a cannon on there. And so this, where it says 10 resources, I feel like it would be better to have this up the top somewhere in the HUD. I know it's just, if this ends up being a persistent piece of information that's somewhere in the HUD, it's better to just have it in the same place all the time, I think. And if you bring it down to associate it with the shop, then it's going to be moving up and down, and that would be really confusing. And I think eventually we're going to need to get resources from combat, which I think happens, but I'm not sure. So the tutorial has told me to try and avoid the shots, so let's bear that in mind. Oh, interesting. Okay. We've got points on the grid that are getting attacked and we have to dodge them. That's really nice. One of the things I like about that thematically as well is that the world that Baz is building here with the trains and the giant bugs feels very sort of like diesel punk anime. And that whole thing of having an attack that's signaled by a big flashing thing on the ground feels very sort of Final Fantasy or something. So it kind of all makes sense together for me. I guess one of my questions would be, is there any benefit to deliberately going after bugs and trying to attack them? Because I can't see the loop between... it's just telling us about upgrading. The loop between how we get resources. I think the resources currently accrue at a flat rate. Oh, thank you, Victor. Nice one. Hi, aim up. So I think at the moment the resources accrue at a flat rate. I'm not sure. I can't see if anything that I'm doing in the combat is adding those resources. But the flow of this from a UX point of view, since the last time I played it 2 months ago, it feels a lot nicer with a controller. And I think that's saying something, because that kind of menu, quite difficult to do controller implementation for. And yeah, choosing the options with the joystick and then switching between the carriages using the shoulder buttons makes a lot of sense and feels good. But yeah, in terms of legibility, I'd definitely I wouldn't remove the grid, but I'd make the grid a much more muted colour so that the black outlines on all of the hazards stand out more. Because then your enemies will stand out more. They'll be pushed to the top of the information hierarchy. And even like static hazards like the water and the mountains and stuff will stand out more, just because you're sort of devaluing the black lines by having them on everything. And I know some of it's a shader effect, but I'd be surprised if it was difficult to remove it on the grid or make the grid less of a standout thing. The land train rolled deep into the valley, and dust clouds settled as the cliff swallowed it whole. The insects had lost their trail for now. Then the refugees came, stumbling from the wilds, whispering the same horrors. Cities fallen, swarms endless, the earth itself trembling. There's some really nice world building going on here. I think the UI in this is quite well built in terms of the functionality, but it is going to need sprucing up at some point further down the line. And given the setting of this, I would be looking at something like Frostpunk for a lot of the inspiration for like how to texture this, how to style the typography and stuff. I'm not going to read all of the dialogue in this one, but it does, one of the things I've noticed this on the previous times when I've played this is the dialogue is quite nicely paced. It's like you do a level, you get 3 or 4 clicks worth of dialogue explaining the new feature that's being introduced, and then that's it. The fire turret creates an area that does damage to enemies. So, okay, cool. So we've now got the option to put broadside cannons on the lower deck, like naval cannons, or the big cannon on the top each time, which is quite cool. I have a feeling that the fire guns might be better to put on the back. One of the things I also like about this game thematically is that it's sort of the theme of the game of like people escaping this giant bug invasion, this sort of kaiju bug invasion, and refugees joining the train. It sort of gives a reason for the snake to be growing, right? It's like the snake is doing a sort of Snowpiercer. Oh, this is our last hope of survival. We have to ride along on this thing. It's the only way we're safe is to keep moving and keep armored. And that sort of, the story of going along picking people up actually makes the growth of the snake make sense. And I think the first build I saw of this, because I think we've looked at it maybe 3 times now, I don't think it had the story as developed then. So the mixing of tower defense and snake still felt a bit arbitrary, but I think that is a really nice way of the story sort of making sense of the genre mashup. I still don't feel a massive amount of agency during the combat, but when you've got the enemy snake, the giant worm to fight, it starts to feel like it comes into its own a little bit. I'm gonna have one more go at the giant worm, and then we'll move on. Oh, I think we might be stuck. I think it might have got confused because I started using mixed inputs or something. But that's not what we're here to fuss about today. I generally, when we do these streams, if I find a bug, I usually just try and restart because we're here to think about game design and not do QA. You gained 2 wagons and 50 resources. 0 came from refineries. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Oh, okay. So this is going to be like a stopgap, like a big critical point in the train, I guess. Let's get the cooldown modifier. You can add a special wagon to the train. Okay, so basically this is a choice between the clerics and the magic people. I'm going to go with the magic-y people, I think. Right, one last wave, I think, and then we'll move on to the next one. Broadside cannons there. Maybe I'm just going to turn the entire tail end into fire just to see what happens. I think when you've got a new game and you're stress testing the design, it always helps to just do weird builds that you think no one would do, but actually people will do, because they'll just have a thing they like and they'll spam it. Because players are weird. Hi, August. I'm just squishing some bugs. So at the moment, I think thinking about the train build is kind of fun from an economy point of view, where I look at the numbers involved and think about what I can buy. I'm still not totally sure how the placement of things on the train matters. I think the theme and the world building of this game are really, really strong. And I'm starting to get a feel for how this movement and combat works, but... And I think it does work. Because generally you are just playing Snake. Because basically the head of the train, the cab, is the only part that can take damage from anything. So that is what you're trying to avoid things with, which is the same as Snake. I think maybe a bit more effort into making bug squishing feel satisfying would be good. Because there's a point at which when you're doing this now, like in a big open space with loads of enemies coming in, it starts to feel a bit like a Bullet Heaven or a Vampire Survivors type game. In which case you want to put the emphasis on farming and making the farm feel really satisfying. Because at the moment, if I listen to the sound effects, it's like I can hear all my guns firing. But these enemies squishing could do with a bit more juice. To let us know that we're doing something good, right? And that we've built an efficient death machine. And then the other thing I think is that... So I saw some stuff there about refineries and stuff you can maybe build on your train that are economy elements, which I don't think we've got deep enough to really explore that yet. But I think if there was some way to pick up resources in this movement game, it would add a little bit more depth to it. Because at the moment you're moving to avoid getting damaged. the secondary goal is maybe to position yourself to do the most damage, although they come to you, and that means that they kind of always go into your guns anyway. So if we had a way of like maybe trying to lead the player astray a little bit as they make the decision about where to move by having resources or something for you to collect that are on the map, I think that would help make this feel a bit more meaningful, give the player more agency, and then it would tie what you're doing here more clearly to the upgrade building segment, because at the moment it seems like you just get resources in a way that is unrelated to what's going on here. And I know you don't necessarily want to get resources from the bugs because they don't drop metal, and that's fine, but you could have like dumps of stuff appearing. And actually, thinking back to Snake, or at least the Nokia Snake that I used to play, that had a little apple that showed up that you ate occasionally. So I do think you could get a lot of mileage in this game out of having on-map resource drops that you have to drive into, and that would help to make the two sections of the game feel connected. And it would also help this to feel like the game is about more than just driving the front of the train away from danger, which at the moment is the main thing that's happening. So yeah, I think those are the things to think about for the developer. This one is such a mixed bag. I really like the concept of it, and I love the theme and the world building, and it just needs to... I don't think it's quite found the fun yet in terms of like, what am I supposed to get out of this as a player? And I can see that it's in there, you know, like the statue in the marble. I can sort of see that there is the potential for this to be really fun, but at the moment the parts don't quite live up to what they could do. And I think just trying to make this, because at the moment there is a best thing to do all the time, and that is to just drive the head of the train away from as many bad guys as possible. Okay, I've missed the top bit. Capture the objective. To capture, you have to be within 0 squares. So to capture this, I have to drive around it. So this is exactly what I was talking about having goals that sort of conflict with staying out of danger. So that's great. So sorry that I've missed that, but I think, yeah, I think the issue is that it's up here. And when one of the things with putting things in the corner, so it was behind me here, up in the corner. If you put things right in the corner, when someone's playing on a bigger screen, they might not see it. So that's definitely promising, though. So if you missed it, that last bit had there was an objective to capture, and I had to drive up close to it. So it was kind of like a Overwatch capture point or something. And that is exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about creating a sort of conflict in what the player wants to do, right? The player wants to stay safe, but the player also wants to capture the objective, and capturing the objective is not safe. So that means that they have to constantly make split-second decisions between which thing they're prioritizing, and that's exactly what you need in any sort of action game, really. So this is coming along really nicely. I think that just needed communicating in a way that didn't get hidden in the corner. We're going to check out gun in a... Oh no, I need to reinstall this because I think this build is broken actually. So let me just update this. So the player can basically place on any part of the train in that game. I think I'll play this one without downloading it, actually. Yeah, you can place stuff on any part of the train, as far as I'm aware. But those larger carriages at the front, they have like passive effects on the carriages behind them, I think. So that kind of creates a sense of, okay, this is a better place to put this gun than this place, because you might have a gun that's, you know, improved more by having a faster rate of fire or whatever. It still feels a little bit arbitrary, but let's check out Gun in a Well. So I have played this a couple of times, but not on stream yet. Hi, Knuckles. And I mean, if you've never played Downwell, then this is kind of an homage, right? I wouldn't say it's a clone because there is something fundamentally different about how this game works. But we've got move and shoot and manual reload. And the thing that's really nice is that moving and shooting is the same mechanic because it's all about the knockback of your gun. Which is different from Downwell. Simpler, but it's also spawn lightning when reloading. Yeah, why not? I'm terrible at this. Right, we're going to give this 10 minutes, and as is always the case, like, just let us know what you think in the chat, because the developer has submitted this because they want it to be looked at and feedback given. I'll give you my gut feelings in a minute, but I think we can already see lots of the ingredients for a fun little one of these run-based roguelike-y type things. I'm just going to go for all the things that spawn lightning, because I like zapping stuff. So I'm going to... Music's pretty cool as well. Oh, cheeky. So we got piercing bullets that bounce off walls. You can start to see how some of these build choices can combo together in a really interesting way. So every shot is a bit of a trade-off because you've got your magazine of 6 and you've got a reload delay and then you've got ammo. And sometimes you have to use a few shots to get a stack of ammo. Max bullets +2. Yeah, let's go for that. All of the sort of... Oh, it's made my bullets slow as well. I didn't see that. Well, that was the thing it did. I'm going to let myself die. All of the upgrade choices feel quite kind of chunky and meaningful, which I quite like in a game like this. You know, I really don't like this sort of upgrade and then you get 3 choices if the choices don't feel significantly different. If they're just like, +1 agility. I don't feel like that's the appeal of making a build-based game. You know, it can be part of it, but it often feels cheap and lazy if it's the main thing of the game. And these... build options feel different. They feel like they change how your game feels, right? Which is a fundamental part of Downwell, which this seems to be an homage to, but also just games with this mechanic in general. I don't want stuff that triggers when I hurt myself. I think those kind of power-ups encourage you to play badly. So I'm always going to go for the thing that does a damage rather than counteracts me hurting myself. Yeah, it is a little bit punishing at the start, although I'd be wary of making it too easy if it means the player doesn't learn to play the game properly, you know? Right, those things are indestructible. Oh no, they're not indestructible. So, one of the things about those laser things So I initially thought that a red item was just like you could destroy it in one shot, and then a pink item meant it took 2 shots, but it seems to be a bit more nuanced than that. Increase the size of bullets by 100%. So we've got an upgrade that has a sort of, not a tree, but that was padded number 2. The first one made the bullets bouncy, and the second one makes them larger, which is interesting. So I played this already, and I did before the gun rotated and stayed facing the same way, and it felt quite strange. So I did say to the developer that I think the sprite should flip when you do this, which it now does, and it does make it kind of a bit less confusing. When the gun just sort of rotated without turning, it felt very, very strange to me. Every 4 shots spawn lightning. Right, I need some ammo now. I'm running out of ammo. Whew. Extra lightning. Come on, ammo. No, not big spider. Ammo. There's a black hole there. I'm going to give this one more shot because I don't have loads of feedback about this game. I think it's really neat. It's hard for me to imagine like what the end goal for it is as a game, because it kind of feels like a web portal game. Like playing this in a browser on itch is kind of perfect, right? I'm not sure if it's big enough for anyone to buy it as a $1 game in any context apart from on a mobile. And in that case, it's kind of like... I don't know if anyone else ever played Ridiculous Fishing. It's super old now. I mean, it's like 10 years old. But this was a mobile game where you're avoiding fish with your hook until you get to the bottom, and then you kind of pick up as many as you can on the way back up. And then they fly up in the air, and then you shoot them with a gun. And it kind of feels like it's the same sort of scope of game as one of those. And I mean, the other thought I have is that the visual style of it feels like it is too close to Downwell for something that is so mechanically similar. And I'm not saying that in sense of like, oh, it's bad to copy stuff, your game shouldn't look like another game. But I think if your game looks too much like a clear homage, then people are going to compare them. And because this has a bit less stuff in it than Downwell, that's going to be an unfavourable comparison. So I think if you can just do something to make it look slightly different, because it's not like pure pixel art like Downwell, it's a mixture of pixel art and other types of art. And this aesthetic works for me. I like these spinny background bits. I like most of the elements of this game. It's just the black and white 1-bit element looks too much like it's still trying to be Downwell, and that's going to draw comparisons that won't be favourable, you know? Like, if you make a game that is kind of like a smaller micro version of another game, I think it needs to not look like that game because of how that kind of comes across to people. I mean, that said, of this, you know, this shouldn't feel like a Downwell clone. I do, you know, the way that the gun reacts, which is to sort of shoot and fly in that don't fly away from the bullet kind of thing. It does kind of make me think that if I was going to retheme this, I would make it a sort of Mega Man or Iron Man type character, because the idea of sort of doing a big kamikaze and like backflipping away from your fireball is really cool and like fits the way that all of the motion in this game already works. So the fact it is just a gun is funny. I quite like that. But I also think if you're going to make a game that is just about a pistol, it may as well be a sort of realistic, cool-looking pistol, because then you'll get all of the kind of teenage gun porn fans that like opening Counter-Strike crates and stuff like that. Yeah, this is cool. I like this. I think I like the power-ups. I like how different they feel from each other. They are really... your build can end up feeling significantly different after just picking up 2 or 3 power-ups, which is nice and I think is really important for games that use that kind of power-up selection mechanic, for it to not just be +1 agility. So I feel like it's already nailed that, and I think the feedback and a lot of the stuff that's going on visually is really helpful. Look, it's even doing this boingy boingy thing to let me know I'm on low health. Not that I can do anything about it right now, but oof. Right, what's next? What have we got next from the Discord? I'm going to check out the other ones on here. So let's do Kilton next, if it's working. I'm dreading looking at games from the Game Jam because I'm going to get so many Windows Defenders things. We've got the crazy swing music. A mouthful, I know. This is a demo, so the singular developer cannot guarantee a completely bug-free experience. And a lot of features are not implemented. Yeah, feel free to weigh in on anything that you want to on these things. That's kind of the whole point, really. I'm giving my feedback, but the whole point of having the chat and doing it live is so that you guys can do the same. Your job description includes managing your employees' inventory and heading into the yellow and red zones to collect the high-value tech in there. Excuse me, this sounds like manager work and you were promised a CEO post. Consider this, a startup, yeah? I'm aware your company is a subsidiary of ANA, but we can make it a little game. Doesn't that sound fun? Let's continue the briefing. Here is your status screen detailing your daily spending and costs. Also, your available resources. You see, we've adapted a growth-centric strategy to improve revenue, so you have to keep your money in the positives or the shareholders will be disappointed. This music is mad. Just gotta turn it down on my headphones slightly. The thing about using really impactful music like this is the track here builds down and then starts again, and it makes the restart really noticeable. Whereas if you have a loop that sort of stays at the same level of intensity, people can listen to it for longer. But if the loop sort of goes down and then comes back up again, it gets grating really quickly. So that's just a thing to think about in terms of music implementation in your games in general. So the dev of this made a shooter in the same universe, and this is set in the same universe, which is a really nice way to kind of work through different genres you're interested in, I think. Hi, employees. Get acquainted with them because you need to know who isn't pulling their weight. Employees have a daily salary and hazard pay, so even when you're not paying them to go on missions, they will still cost money. That's what the fire button is for. The writing here is fantastic, I think. One thing I would say, Smugpire, is that we need to highlight the thing that she's talking about if this is a tutorial. Because she's telling us about all this stuff and it presumably relates to stuff down here, but it's not clear which thing is being pointed to, you know? We need like a highlight on it or a big Final Fantasy finger hand. Hey, Smug. So we've got our staff, we've got Ashel. This is their actual CV. My daily salary is $45. My hazard pay is $22.25. That's interesting. Splitting the spend between what they cost when you send them on missions versus what they cost to just have. Okay. Black steel, red mercury, white sulfur. Oh. 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 I clicked the wrong button. Sorry about that. I'm just going to go through all this again really quickly. That quit didn't have a confirm stage, so I clicked on it without reading it. Smug, I am playing the itch version just because that was the one I could download yesterday, so I don't know if you've updated in the last day, but I'm more interested in seeing what the core gameplay is like. Combatants are arranged from most crit to least. Highest crit goes first. You can see the turn order on the right. Okay. I'm gonna struggle to remember their names. I can barely remember my family members' names. It's in range, you have ammo, etc. In other words, you can hit it. A white indicator is for moving. Right click on one of those white indicators and command. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's their attack. Ah, I see. Yeah, the white. I see the white indicator now. I wasn't sure what I was looking at. So in terms of the UI here, the movement spaces are reasonably clear once you see them. So the red is where we've got line of sight to attack. The white is where we can move to, so we can strafe around there. Interesting. I'm just going to shoot that for no reason. She's got her shovel. Okay, so the goal isn't necessarily to kill the enemy. The goal is to get the stuff. And killing the enemies is just a kind of thing that gets in the way of that. I kind of like that. I think this is going to maybe suffer from a thing that a lot of these turn-based tactics games can suffer from, which is just like a first few moves that feel really dead because you're just moving into range. Oh yeah, I see the white indicators through the walls. Kettle's dead already! But now we've got... I don't seem to be able to shoot. Is that because I don't understand? This is truly the real XCOM experience. Well done. We died. That was great. That was good. That was the classic XCOM experience. Okay. Oh no, but I've been team wiped already. I'll give it one more try, but we've got quite a lot to get through today, so I can only spend about 15 minutes on each game. Oh, I've killed it with my clicking. Ah. I thought it had saved my progress that time, but... It doesn't like it if you click really fast through the dialogue. Yeah, I think when you are cycling through these bits of the tutorial, it really needs to kind of light up the thing that's being talked about. Firing kettle immediately. Yeah, when you're kind of bug testing, which is different from playtesting, you sort of, it's very hard to know what sort of behaviours players will do. But clicking very fast through dialogue is one that will always happen. I think maybe having a chance to push the barriers back if there's nothing behind them could be interesting as well. So you kind of get Final Fantasy Tactics meets Sokoban. That could be interesting. Because at the moment, shooting the barriers to get them out of the way so that you can deliberately go and fight people doesn't feel like much of a choice. It's just sort of something you have to do. Yeah, so some people have some questions about walls. So the way I would normally see this handled in a top-down thing is you either do the kind of Binding of Isaac Force perspective where you're actually looking at it from above and you can see the walls coming down from every direction, or you would have like the walls that are at the back are full size, and then the walls at the front, it's sort of implied that we're getting a cutaway. But we've got a cutaway all the way round here, which is kind of what makes it maybe feel a bit strange. I'm not totally sure when I can and can't attack. Is it because I'm next to the thing? I can't... Oh, it's because I need to reload, maybe? The yellow thing, this is how many attacks they have. Okay. That's the information I was missing there. Okay. I sort of understand that now. I kept trying to shoot things and the characters didn't have any bullets and I was like, where is it? And it's there. What does reload use? Does it use up a movement point or... And I'm not saying that to have it answered now. I think, like, if reload costs a resource, which I'm not sure it does, then it should tell us on the button or something. But yeah, this is kind of feeling fun. Once I actually got to kill something... But I'm going to need to move on. Yeah, so the yellow... The bullet system wasn't immediately clear. And... I'm not totally sure what reload... I mean, I know what reload does, right? I know that reload reloads your gun. But I can't quite understand what the cost is before you press it. It seems to end your turn. Yeah. You move and either shoot or reload. That makes sense. I think there's maybe a more elegant way of approaching that, but I'm not sure what it is right now. You know? Like, you could have... Because what you don't want to do, I think... Here's like a prompt for a thing to try and avoid in this game. You don't want someone to need to reload, and then they press end turn instead of reload, when they should have reloaded, right? So what I would say is, instead of having a separate reload and end turn button, maybe what we should have is, like... If you're ending your turn and you've done stuff and you can't reload, it just says end turn. And if you're ending your turn and you can reload, it says end turn and reload, and it's like the same button. Yeah, I love the characters in this. They're very cheeky, and the way the choice of this kind of crazy swing music with these characters feels very funny. I love the whole tone of this world, of this kind of strange dystopian anime corporate, like quite malicious world that this is in, where, you know, I hire a mercenary who's armed with a shovel and then immediately fire them because I don't want them anymore. So we've got a Contraption game. And I saw some screenshots of this, and if it's what I think it is, then it's a type of game I haven't played in a very long time. And I'm a big fan of, so... Yeah. Yeah, I think in terms of the core gameplay in that Smug, the reload mechanic was the thing I had the most kind of... I got stuck with for the longest. And I think not letting people stop the turn without reloading, if they can reload, is probably good. So we've got a sort of contraptions game where you place things and then you press play and they interact. And I love this genre. I haven't played one in ages. Maybe he bounces in the air, then we hairdryer him. Fantastic Contraption, yeah, that's the one. There's it, and was it? It's super old now, like a 90s game. This is very cute art style. Some of the things feel like they don't go together, and I think that's okay. But I think if you do things mismatched, it needs to feel very deliberate. And at the moment, these are quite similar to each other, so it feels like it's a bit too subtle. Yeah, Bad Rats was a similar thing. Right, so I'm going to push the hamster over to the left. Dog's going to bounce it up there. I don't know what this pinwheel does, so I want to try it out, and then we'll have another one of these here. I have a feeling that sun might do something. I can't tell if he's a background object or a foreground object from the way everything is rendered here. Oh, I'm a failure. There we go. Okay, the sun is a background object. I think having a some sort of visual rule to tell us which objects are non-collidable background objects would be helpful here as well. Like the clouds having a dot around them, that's cool. Maybe that could be a rule for anything in the background that's not part of the interactable stuff. Right, I've got... So I can only hair dry them that way in this one. I've got this, which presumably acts like a hairdryer, but I can't put it directly under something. So Hammy's going to bump down here, roll down a piece of pizza, and then get hairdryed back the other way, get booped by a dog. Oh, I don't know if this is going to work. Oh yeah, it's totally an incredible machine like. And I welcome more games like this because I'm a big fan of these. Yeah, fourth game. I'm getting through them quite fast today because we've got quite a lot to look at. Maybe if I just knock him sideways with that, that would do enough. I wonder what my solutions are like compared to the original. I've still got to get up there. Still got to get up to the carrot. I wonder what any of these solutions are like compared to the ones that the developer expects people to do. That'd be interesting to find out. Right, so I think that will do it. That should do it. I see a lot of potential in this. I think this is an evergreen genre. I think they just don't get made very often. And I think one of the reasons why is it's quite difficult to place them in terms of who is it for, like age group and stuff. And like the art direction in this, I think you need to work out whether it's a cozy game for adults that is child appropriate or whether it's for children, because that calls for slightly different approaches. Okay, so are those collidable, those? Hammy's in space. What does that do? Is it just a bouncy? Yeah, we're not getting a lot of variety in terms of what these objects do, in terms of their behavior and stuff. But it doesn't stop it being fun. I think the whole element of having to run it to see what happens gives these quite a lot of longevity. There we go. 4 AM. I'm sorry, Alejandro. You know, if this channel ever gets to the point where the Patreon is making enough money for me to fully live off of, then I will be moving the time of day of these and all sorts. But at the moment, I have to have everything, you know, scheduled based around doing other types of work and stuff. I don't think I can get him past the shark. Oh yeah, so here we've got the dotted outline stuff. I don't understand why the trophy is a carrot though, because that would make sense if the character was a rabbit, but the character isn't a rabbit, the character is a hammy. I think I need to maybe just work backwards from the goal. So that to get there, but the thing about the plaster is it's only got a collision in the middle, so you can make bridges with it. That's cool. Ah, okay, this is a more interesting interaction. So we've got to get the key and then get back here. And as far as I can tell, we can't get onto this thing from this side because we don't have anything to push us that way. So I'm going to say oh, this is an odd one. I'm a bit stumped already. Ah, okay. That purple ball is a interactable as well. So, what happens if we give it a little ramp? Okay, so the ball can collect the key for us. So this is really where I would like there to be some sort of consistent visual language, right? Because if the ball is a character in the same way that the hammy is a character, then these are of a kind, right? I guess our stickers have outline because they're kind of stickers that you're placing down. That makes sense. But some of these objects just don't look like they're in the same art style. And again, the difference is subtle, which makes it feel kind of a bit clumsy rather than deliberate. But we're trying to get hammy over here. So I'm going to do that and that. I'm trying not to use the phrase below the hamster, but it's really hard not to, given this set of like mechanics and themes. Nice, that's satisfying. Yeah, so a lot of these objects are kind of just there as a shape, rather than as a thing that does a thing, which is a shame because we've established with the hairdryer that these aren't stickers that are just a shape; they actually do stuff. So I don't know what to do with that, but. What does that goo do? Hi, kitten. Whee! That's very satisfying interaction. That's the first time I've got to use one of these wheels in a way that felt like it kind of made sense. But now I need a way to get the... Oh dear. Yeah, I kind of get where they're going with the white outlines, because it's meant to make it, it's like, this is a, you can see this, right? This is like a thing that you get stickers on and you take them out of the sticker book and you put them on. So it does kind of make sense. I guess if we're going for the theme of these are stickers and you're putting them on here, kind of like I don't know. Have we had any other games where it's like you're using art resources to? I guess so. My art reference for this would be Snipper Clips, right? Snipper Clips, Nintendo Switch game. This is going sort of super heavy into the whole the world is art resources type thing, and we've started going in that direction with this kind of sticker board. So I think the whole thing of these being stickers that come out of a sticker pack is cool, but then we would need some of this stuff to look like a drawing, right? Because at the moment, these don't look like stickers and they don't look like a drawing. Yeah, it's like Scribblenauts as well. So I don't know how you fix that, but something... I think if you're going to have this kind of game-wide metaphor, if you're putting stickers onto something, then it needs to be something you'd put stickers on. And at the moment, this looks like a cartoon kind of quote-unquote real world, rather than leaning fully into that art direction and going for the Snipper Clips approach where the world is actually on paper, you know? I think you can do more with that, and you can lean really far into that idea of the world being a drawing that you're sticking things onto. But I like the gameplay of this. I mean, it's a genre that I like anyway. And the puzzles are starting to get to the point where they're actually challenging as well, which is nice. I didn't expect that to come around so quickly. But also I don't seem to be able to do this one at all. So maybe like that. Maybe that will do it. Up and over. I don't think I'm going to get past this one on this try. Oh, hang on. No. Maybe what we need to do is drop... Oh, we can't choose where Hammy goes, can we? Yeah, this is really fun. My feedback for this one is mainly on the art direction. I think the puzzle design is interesting. I would say, right, this difficulty curve of what I've just experienced, of 2 or 3 very easy puzzles and then a couple of head scratchers, this is a good difficulty curve if this is meant to be a cozy puzzle game for adults, right? If this is meant to be for children, then the difficulty curve is probably too steep. But yeah, my main feedback is about the art direction, and I really think if you're going to go for this idea of sticking stickers from a sticker pack into a world, then the world needs to be based on something that you would stick stickers onto. And at the moment, it's just kind of it feels a bit random. Like, I kind of can't work out if these are illustrated or if they've been found on Canva or something, because it feels like quite a strange, like, not quite fitting together set of art styles, and that might just be the way things are scaled and the lines getting thicker and so on. But I really like that. I like that type of game, and it's a nice type of game to see, because we don't see many of them. Right, the next one's coming up on my list. We've got the spinning comet escape, which I'm going to try. I think we can play this in the browser. So this was a developer who got an invite to the Discord because I featured one of their games before on Indies Under the Knife. And they made a game called Wildfires that was about putting out fires with a plane. And now we've got a little space launch game, which I am going to suck at because I've tried games like this before and they hurt my brain. So we've got stuff up here that we are maybe supposed to buy with something. And I need LH2 and locks, whatever they are, to launch the rocket. I need to put... There's so much UI that I need to just make myself invisible for this. So these are the kind of resources I need to collect to launch the rocket. I need 140,000 of this and 30,000 of this. And just looking at this, I feel like this is the type of game that I'm not going to be able to satisfactorily work out in 10 or 15 minutes. I will check the more information out. Okay. Liquid hydrogen. Yeah. I don't know anything about rockets or what goes in them. Your rocket landed on a comet and you need to refuel it. Generate energy and materials to generate the liquid oxygen and hydrogen to return to space. Or try your luck spinning the comet. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so I click around. What is that doing? Ah, that's collecting CO2. So the issue I had in the first couple of minutes was there's loads of stuff around here that is drawing my attention, and the fact that I could click here and it would do something was just not obvious to me at all. So I'm collecting CO2, and then I'm probably going to be able to do something with that CO2. So here I've turned on a miner. No. Ah, okay. I click there, it becomes a building thing, and then for 1,000 kilowatts per hour, I can get 100 M, which is methane, I guess. But it's got no power, so I need to place a generator. Too slow. Is that too slow? I can't read that text very easily. And this grid down here corresponds to this, I think. Okay, that is me spinning the comet. Which means if I had a solar panel, then I can sort of deliberately sit facing the sun for some reason. This is an interesting set of problems. Okay, I've been collecting the CD, which is comet dust. So that is going to automatically collect comet dust, I think. But it's got no power, so I need to build more generators, I think. But the generators only go when we are spinning, is that right? Because it says too slow. Yeah, I think basically the spinning... Yeah, here we go. So these say okay. So That's fun. So the rotational thing of the comet is giving us power now, and that means that everything can start working. Okay, this is a really neat version of these clicker games. It's a really cool concept. It's kind of like Crank. But I think, yeah, the way the spinning works just needs showing a bit quicker. And I kind of like the fact that it's only visible up here and the lighting changing, because this could be really motion sickness inducing if we could see too much. So I think the way that this is designed is really nice from a kind of visual and UX perspective. I want a solar panel though. I need 1,000 metals. How do I get metals? So I think I need to build quite a few generators until my mining things. More generators. Oh. I put my generators on when I was spinning and they flew off. Is that because I need to... Yeah. You can't build when you're spinning. You have to slow down. That's great. It's still telling us we've got no power. Right, we've got 1,000 metals, so we can start. I've already got miners. I'm just going to fill this whole side up with generators. Chemical plant, pure metals. And the chemical plant wants the planet to spin slow. That's a really interesting dynamic already, where you've got this spinning mechanic, which is kind of like turning the crank in Crank, which was an old incremental game like this. But you've got some things that prefer to be going slow, so once you've built loads of stuff, you then have to think about which ones you want to be the most active when you speed up or slow down. So I need to spin fast to get power, but these buildings can't run when we're going fast, so you would need to like make and store the power or something. This is smart. Lots of lovely interface design. Love all of these little 3D edges on the interface. I think there's a few things that could stand out more. Like, I think these button states, the version where it's red, where you can't get that thing, I don't think it's kind of a clear enough distinction from the pink one. Spin it, bop it, crank it. Build some solar panels. Why am I not collecting metal though? I've got miners. Not sure why my miners aren't doing anything. There we go. They started doing something then. Maybe I just wasn't clicking enough. So I think some of these things take a while to spin up. So yeah, look, my miners don't get going for a while, and we have to be going really, really fast for them to generate anything, and then it just gets used immediately. What is it getting used on? So every time we get 1,000 kilowatt, it makes 1,000 metals. The chemical plant will turn them into pure metals, which is what this is. Okay, so that's why we're not obtaining metals, because it's turning into metal and then it's turning into pure metal. And then pure metals can be used to do something else. And then down here we've got electrolysis. That is starting to build up the fuel for the spaceship. Okay, this is cool. I'm not going to play much more of it because I think you can see the concept from this, but I think this is a really cool take on this genre. You've got an economy that you need to build up through all the practical things where you're kind of converting things into other things using the spin of the comet, which... So the speed that the comet is rotating affects some of these buildings and their output, and then your direction in relation to the sun affects some of these buildings, like the solar panels, and you're trying to do all of these trades of resources all the way up the tree until you can refuel the rocket using the liquid hydrogen and the can't see what the other one is because the itch stuff is over it. Really, really neat, really cool use of a theme to do a slightly different thing with the genre, because you know, anyone who's played clicker games has done this process of gradually building these upgrades, but often it is just to kind of obtain incrementally more of the same currency, and all of this translation of different resources into different resources up a chain matches this kind of the Martian-esque hard sci-fi theme really nicely. So I think this is great. I think the things I need in this as a dumbass playing a game and rushing it is an initial indicator of how the clicking and spinning mechanic works, and I got lost a little bit there on the conversion of the metals into the pure metals, and I was like, why are my metals not going up? So I think some way of indicating when, because at the moment we used to incremental games where everything goes up all the time rather than conversions, right? So I think if you've got a building here that is converting this resource into this resource or anywhere else along the chain, I think you need to work out some sort of UX language for what happens there. So maybe it's that a number comes off of this number and goes bloop down into this number. Maybe that was already happening, but I wasn't totally sure. So some sort of very clear, flashy effect that when a building is converting one of these to another... Because otherwise, all you see the resource go up, but unless we remember how every single building works, you know, that could have just gone up because it was obtained out of the ground, right? Whereas if it's a conversion, I think we need a way of signaling that very clearly in the UI, and I'm not entirely sure what way you use for that, but I think it would help people like grok what is happening in this game a lot quicker, or at least avoid the main thing that I had an issue with in that later bit of the game there. I mean, I call it the later bit. We've only built a third of what's here, but yeah, Maui said that also means you could upgrade the time it takes to do the conversion, which is a good point, right? I think maybe part of the issue is that we've got this flat conversion of 1,000 of something into 1,000 of something, which is why I was having that experience of like, where are my metals? I'm mining metals, but they're not appearing as a number over here. And it's because they were, when it reached 1,000, it would go boop and just automatically be converted. And I think if it sort of had if you've got a color here to highlight when something's just increased, right? Like the blue. If you had a color that flashed a different color that was like the conversion color, then when something's going down, you could show that it's being drained out of this resource and into the other one. there's a few different ways you can communicate that, but I do think that is one of the confusing mechanics. So I think very early game, confusing mechanic is the spinning in its own right, because the first couple of clicks you make, it doesn't make it totally clear that the sky is turning because you're doing that, right? So unless you come into this like fully aware that it's a clicker game and that the first thing you should do is do this, then you don't really know how to start the game. And then deeper in the game, I think the conversion mechanics could be a bit clearer in terms of what's happening there, because it's a little bit confusing. That's great. I really like that. Let's check out Pandora Legion of 2. And I just need to find the password for this. Ooh, not Canva. Let me just check. Yeah, someone was telling me I need to get a virtual machine set up before I check out the entries to the game jam, because there will be bogus games. And that's annoying, because I don't want to have to learn how to do a new thing. And setting up a virtual machine is learning how to do a new thing. But I will have to do it, I guess. But yeah, while that's still downloading for a moment, so let's give that a second to download and then just have a quick look at Collab Jam. So I've seen submissions already submitted, and some of these have nothing to do with the jam. So I didn't realize this was a thing on itch, but yeah, people just submit their games to random jams that have nothing to do with it. So I am going to play some of the submissions, but I'm going to look at them first and see if they have any sense of what the game jam is about. Because if there's a... So this is good because it tells us who made it, and we can see it's a collaboration because it's got all the people credited. But some of these are just like a random game that has nothing to do with Collab Jam. This doesn't tell us who collaborated on it, so it's not a collaboration. So I might have to... I haven't actually seen what the host interface for running a game jam is on itch, or I haven't seen it in a couple of years. But I might just go through and disqualify games like that clearly aren't collaborations. Lantern Fall. Yeah, just make sure that you've put this. Yeah, that's great. As long as there's something like that, then I can see that you haven't just made a game, put it on an itch, and then randomly submitted it to a load of game jams, which apparently is a thing that happens. I don't know why people do that. I can almost understand making malware and putting on itch to steal someone's money, but making a game and then trying to con people into playing it because you want attention is totally strange and weird to me. So yeah, I need a way to filter those and work out which ones were actually made for the game jam, but it shouldn't be too difficult. While that is still going, let me see what's next on the list. We've got a new version of Negative Space, which is lovely. So Pandora is... Okay, this is going. Yeah, we'll do this and then we'll do a bit of Negative Space. And I do have Hazard Pay on the list, but maybe I'll do a different session for that at some point. It is a weird thing to do for attention for like a micro game, though. You know, you've made Frogger or something, and you're just desperate for people to play your version of Frogger. Very strange. You would so the novice, the Google submission form is for Indies Under the Knife that I do on Thursdays, which is a different stream for this. I will quickly check for you now, since you asked so nicely. But I've just got that spreadsheet open. I'm doing a Control F and I'm typing in novice. Yes, it's on there. Yep. It's on the list. So the way that Indies Under the Knife works, the Thursday sessions, is I take all the games that have been submitted, and then every few weeks I group some of them based on genre, or I usually do it based on theme at the moment, because I find people aren't necessarily interested in whole genres. So this Thursday we've got fantasy strategy games, so it's genre and a theme, I guess. And then next week it's games with cute little guys in, and auto battlers and combo builders. So if you've submitted a game for Indies Under the Knife, it may show up at some point in one of these, but it will be based on whether I can find games to put it with, and you know, basically whether it looks like there's enough there to check out, because sometimes games get submitted that are so early in development that they're just not really interesting to show people. So so yeah, I will. One of the things that can help is just making sure that the Itch or Steam page is really kind of thorough in terms of having screenshots on for your demo. And I know even if you're in a very early stage of developing something, you don't want to put loads of screenshots up and stuff, but it does help someone like me make decisions about what to playtest, because ultimately I still need to pick things that are going to be interesting for other people to watch as well. Pandora Legion of Two. Fascists are establishing tyranny. The world needs you. You can be a hero. They captured your best friend. Liberate all resistance fighters. Defeat all fascists. Okay. Nice and simple. Right, that I need to restart, because as soon as I moved, the text I needed to read moved as well and changed. Right. We've got sort of like mini Metal Slug type. You can run and shoot with the pistol. There's a lot of text here. That's satisfying. Sort of a mix of, I mean, it's aesthetically it's Metal Slug, but then it's sort of the top-down shooter feels like Chaos Engine and those sort of old Amiga games and stuff. Feels like there's some RNG involved in whether or not my shots hit, which feels strange in a game where I'm training a cursor directly on someone. Okay. Yeah, cannon fodder kind of vibes. This is a really nice level layout. It's like the whole level is on one screen, and you've got this kind of stealth element which works really well with this viewpoint, because because you can kind of see when people are in the shadows and stuff, you know. Oh, I accidentally quit that one. Right, how do I get back to that? Because it downloaded in a weird place. Sorry about that. You got to make your games harder to quit, because this is the second time this has happened today. Here we go. Let's try that again. So yeah, issue with the tutorial. The first bit of the tutorial, I just couldn't. I accidentally clicked through it, and it wasn't obvious that that was going to happen. So, okay, hold shift to sprint. So I didn't know about being able to sprint because it's on the first tooltip, and the first tooltip is very easy to skip because as soon as you press any button, it cycles. Also, the sprinting doesn't change. The sprinting changes your speed a little bit, and it means you can't shoot. But the speed increase isn't massive, right? So one of the things I would do is maybe make the animation speed slower when you're walking normally, so that when you sprint, it feels faster. C is pick up and Y is switch. Some of these keyboard binding choices feel a bit arbitrary as well. But all the interactions in this feel great. Okay, the kind of RNG-ness of shooting when you're further away makes a bit more sense, especially when you've seen the second level and like how not overcrowded it's going to get, but it's going to get more dense with enemies. And I guess if we get a step up at some point into machine guns, then it's going to feel like a really satisfying upgrade from having to do quite slow shots with the pea shooter. Right, you can't reload while moving, which is fine, but I just need to remember that. Whew. Yeah, Dev was saying red text over black background? Where is the red text? Dev was saying that some of the inspiration was North and South, which is a game that I have not heard anyone reference in a very long time. It's like a Civil War game, but I'm a total sucker for games with tiny little characters like this. And that was one of those. So we don't have limited ammo. I think once you've got a gun, you've got a gun. Which I quite like actually as a design choice, because it means that when you get into the firefights, it feels a bit more like you're in a movie, you know? Which I think is an important consideration, especially if you're going to do something in a war setting. It's like, people think a lot about their game genre, but when you think about your thematic genre and the kind of fantasy it's supposed to evoke, I suppose there's some of that involved in like wondering if you're on your last bullet and stuff, but if you're going to have limited ammo, I think you need to have a reason for it a lot of the time. So I really want to know if that red barrel can be destroyed, because I was shooting for it trying to get the guy next to it. Yeah, okay. I didn't manage to get it when the guy was there, though. Has he got? Is that a rocket launcher he's got there? So I have to sneak up as close as I can before he sees me and... Oh no, it's just a rifle. This one has 5 shots in its magazine. Hold left mouse button. Oh, you hold it down and then release it. No, I wasn't using the pistol that way. That makes a lot more sense. I was just sort of panic clicking and blind firing. So it's sort of whatever gun you use, the longer you hold it down, the more it trains the gun. How about no? How about you stop shooting me? You naughty man. Okay, so your pistol is your secondary weapon, and then whatever else you pick up replaces the other one. This is really neat. Okay. I'm finding the switch weapon buttons a little bit unintuitive. It doesn't feel like there's really a logic to why it's Y or... I mean, R for reload. I guess the thing is, if you use R for reload, then it establishes a kind of expectation that the other ones will be based on a word. And I'm not sure what Y is. Oh, they captured my flag. I forgot it was capture the flag. Let's try one more time. This is cool though. The actual gunplay feels great. Like, I don't really have any qualms with that. I think it's really cool. I think having the normal walk speed animation slower, so that when you sprint it's a bit more obvious that you're sprinting, that would be quite helpful to people. And then occasionally we've got like... I think I would be careful about asking players to read in any situation where they need to pay attention on other things to not die. Yeah, that I am sprinting there, but I just think changing the animation speed so that the walking looks slower will make it a lot clearer when the sprint is sprinting. I kind of like the theme as well because it just immediately gives you a good guys, bad guys in a way that I think a lot of modern war settings, it's quite hard to just do a who's the obvious bad guys type thing, and I think when you do this time period, it's people are a lot more forgiving of it. It's a good explosion. I would always be tempted to just set the guns to 1 and 2. Just because people who play any kind of combat games on PCs are so used to that being the mapping. And then you don't have to worry about like language and is R reload the same in every language and stuff. Or I mean that's where reload will be for most people, but yeah, I would put the pistol on 1, your primary weapon on 2, and you know, grenades on 3 or something like that. I'm not sure, but I think it would. So the dev said, would a menu interruption type of tutorial work for weapons where you click with the mouse on OK once you read it? Yeah, I think so. It's more that you kind of, when you're designing something like a tutorial, just you need to work out a set of rules that make sense for your game. And in this game, I wouldn't ever want to be shot at while I need to read something, right? It's not a good combination of experiences to give people. So from that, you can get the kind of design rule, okay, our tutorial pauses the game briefly and needs to be clicked on, yeah? Yeah, that was a very good barrel explosion. This is great. Wicked little game. I'm interested to see how that develops. The actual gunplay, all of the action part of the game feels fantastic. And I was quite surprised because I think mouse-based twin-stick shooters, it can be a bit hit and miss, but the way the movement is sort of stealth-based, and then the way that the clicking is, yeah, as you say, like you hold down the click to aim, and it's sort of a bit more random if you just blind fire in a direction. It feels nice, and it kind of also reminds me of those top-down real-time tactics games like Commandos and stuff like that we got sort of towards the end of the 90s. Haven't had one of them in a few years. That's cool. Right, let's take a look at negative space, which I think this is playable in browser. So this is a deck builder that someone in the Discord has been working on for a while. And I really like what I've seen of this game before. You know, we've played this before on the Discord stream. There's some really nice stuff here, and it has a strange theme because it has the same sort of core way it does deck building to things like Slay the Spire, but you're not fighting something, which makes it initially a little bit hard to get your head around, I think. Okay, so we're going to fly through these areas. No worries, all good. Thanks for dropping in. Major Dave, welcome aboard your first real mission. See that readout in the upper left? You have 5 days to traverse the galaxy. Use your crew and gadgets aboard your ship to explore nearby planets. Okay. This tutorial character is new since the last time I played it. So, up here, we've got planets to explore. And the idea is you have to collect stars, right? So here it says 0 out of 7. So I've got 5 hands of cards to play. So 5 turns, which are the days. And then 7 stars to collect in that turn. And it starts out with I spend this energy to play crew. And then they explore the planet. Right? And then I get the star. Yeah, this is the one where the quests are planets, exactly. So generally speaking, I'm going to aim for the hardest planet to beat, generally, so that I'm making best use of my guys. Yeah. It's explaining how a deck builder works, which is fine, it needs that. And then these yellow cards do sort of match, you know, game-long updates to the rest of the cards. Yeah, I think you're probably right, Knuckles. But like if you look at the games where it's been done, I don't know. Some of them just seem not particularly interesting in the first place. So I might do some sort of anti-advert for them if they're doing that. I won't really, because it'll probably end up helping them. So okay, so I can make another card cheaper. So I'm going to do that to this big one, because if this takes a few more days, then I'll draw this again and I'll get to use it twice. So Donut Planet. Ah, we've got keywords down the left now as well. All of these little planet designs are so cute. Got some coins. We get some coins for completing it days early. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So you get like rewarded more for sort of overachieving, I guess. Disgruntled crew. Yeah, the game is really cute. It feels very much like a 90s Nickelodeon cartoon. Like Rocko's Modern Life or something like that. It's really, really nice. The janitor buffs the other guys if it beats its objective. That's cute. The way the cards buff each other is really nice, and it does really give the sense of like, so these green are all crew and the yellow cards are like technology, right? And the way that works together thematically for the type of game it is and what is being kind of represented in the game is just really, really nice. Because it's you either use your crew first time round or you spend your energy buffing them and improving them so that when they come out they are better each time. I've also got, you can't see him but he's down here, this guy. This is like you have like a kind of Hearthstone style hero ability. So his lets you discard your hand and replace your hand once per turn. Oh, I'm going to put myself in here now. There we go. That's where I belong. And yeah, they stay buffed for the rest of the match, so there's some really nice accumulation of points. It's not just about the meta game of what cards do you add to your deck. You get this micro game within each stop of like how much can you buff your hand and then shuffle it back into the deck and then use it again. Really nice. I really like it. And I think most of the changes I've seen here since I last saw it are mostly sort of quality of life improvements, like just making things clearer, making things juicier or more fun to do. See, just getting the crew really powerful feels really satisfying. And it fits the theme of like this space team working together. That's 2 stars for only 3 effort points. And then you do get kind of relics down the side here, kind of like Slay the Spire, so really nice. He's strong. Upgrade a card. I like the simple choice in that roadmap as well of what you're getting for each stop you go to. It's just buy a card, you know, buy a card, throw a card away, upgrade a card. I'm going to upgrade the strong guy I just got. Don't know what that does, but he's basically a card that if you use him on something that is too weak for him, he becomes way stronger. So he's like an overkill based card. Ooh, Space Station Apollo. It has a rainbow star on it. And then eventually you start getting planets come out that have hazards on them. I think last time I saw it, it had planets that would do bad stuff if you didn't resolve them quickly. Oh, these are traffic, so these don't give you stars. They're just annoying things that get in the way. This visual effect that's around the captain down here is really nice. Very hard to have such a colourful game and then still make things like that stand out enough. Might run out of days on this one, we'll see. I need to just start targeting the space station. It can only be targeted if it's the only card. I'll make my strong crew cheaper so that it only costs 1 energy to use. I love the idea of the janitor making everyone else stronger. It's quite funny. This little moustache on the outside of his spacesuit. I'm not doing great at this, but it's doing good things in terms of showing us the design, right? Because I think if you played like the first match of that, you could think, well, there's not much to this. And then when you start to get situations like that where you've got, you know, a planet you can't deal with without getting rid of the other ones, it does create an interesting puzzle quite quickly. Although I think I might have broken it by restarting the game because I've got a match with no cards in. It's just like, no, sorry, you've got no deck in this deck builder. Right, starting a new deck. Going for the one that's going to give me 2 stars straight away. Should be able to do that 11 this turn. There we go. That's great. Each of those sounds a horn, and then these kind of look like they're playing. Space trumpets. Okay, I'm going to go a small crew with lots of tech. Oh, that's cool, Mist. That's good to hear. Yeah, I think they're trying to turn Blackjack into a deck builder game thing is such an interesting design challenge, because Blackjack all just centers around one choice, making one choice over and over again. So very hard to add depth to that. Not to say it's impossible, but it's just an interesting challenge, I think. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're still working on that and you're getting along well with it. It was a very kind of smoothly implemented. Yeah, by all means, put the link in if you. I mean, I won't be able to play at the moment, but you can always put the link in the chat if you want people to be able to take a look at it. I saw what you'd done with sort of making it have more of a theme already. I think you sent me some information on that, and it looked quite interesting. So part of the problem of the popularity of Balatro is, you know, I think we talked about this, but Balatro sort of turned the Joker into their mascot. And that means if you do something with a standard deck of cards, you sort of can't really use the Joker in the same way. Because it would be like the equivalent of opening a burger restaurant and having a clown as the mascot for your burger restaurant. And it would be like, well, that's just McDonald's, isn't it? I mean, you can have a concept of Jokers, right? But it just feels like it's so central to what Balatro is that... Right, let's buff that and then use that on that one. Last on my list is Hazard Played, but I have played that a few times on the channel before, so I'm going to maybe leave it for another time. Or maybe do a long play of it at some point, because I've been following the development of that one for a while. The community playtest streams are just ones that people who are in our Discord are working on, so when I do stuff like Indies Under the Knife, I do these by genre because my backlog has like 50 games in it, and I have to work out a way to put them together so that people will actually watch this, right? So if I put these together by theme and say 4 games that are fantasy and strategy or 4 games that are really cute, then you're more likely to get more people looking at your game, because they're not going to click on a 4 random indie game stream. Whereas the stream I'm doing today is kind of almost one of the Patreon bonuses, really. So the way our Discord works is it's sort of a way to say thank you to people who support this channel on Patreon, because I have to give people something. And then a lot of people in the Discord are there because they've helped the channel in some way as well. So yeah, when I cover games on Indies Under the Knife, I usually send people an invite from that. So I have a closed Discord that is mainly there as a Patreon reward, but there's also people who have just had their games on the channel before, and in order to say sort of thank you for submitting their game, I give them a invite. So that's why when I do this stream, the Discord community stream, it's quite a random selection of games, because it's just stuff that people are working on in the Discord. And a lot of these games, I see them a few times a week. If the developer's in the Discord and they update their project channel, I kind of see what's going on, and then we've got quite a good culture in there of people giving each other feedback and stuff in the Discord. So I'm in there maybe an hour or so a day just giving people feedback or posting about my own projects and stuff like that as well. That's how Knuckles got in. Yep. I'm going to play this for another 10 minutes and then I need to go and do something else for a bit. But I'm going to try and make a really small crew with loads of technology and see what happens. Buff. I'll make the janitor buff. Buff the buff janitor. So yeah, if you're not in our Discord and you want to submit a game to Indies Under the Knife, there is a link on my website or there is a link on the homepage of the YouTube channel, and you can submit games that way. And you know, I look at 4 a week. So the Thursday streams, I look at 4 games every Thursday, and occasionally I'll do more, but that does allow us to get through quite a few. Like previously, when I started this channel about a year ago, every game I got sent, I was doing a full edited video on, and it just wasn't sustainable really. And doing them on a stream is a bit more fun because the people who show up can give feedback on the game as well. Ooh. It says it's not an eligible target. Have I hit it? Oh no, it's because I don't have any energy. That feels like a bug because it's giving me an error message, which isn't actually the reason. The reason I can't do something is because I don't have any energy. Yay. So the space station is sort of our equivalent of a boss, almost. So we're not really fighting stuff, we're just exploring things. Yeah, there's a whole way of playing this where you can kill your crew as well, which is quite funny because the game looks so cute. So having crew murder is disturbing in a fun way. Cards can be upgraded twice. The Colossal Asteroid Field. These planets are getting a bit meatier now, aren't they? I feel like the complexity of these card rules is just about right. There's just enough to get your teeth into without having to think super hard. So this, when you resolve it, it gives you more cards. That's cool, but I didn't have any energy to spend it on. Yeah. It's pretty perilous. Yeah, so if you go down the route of murdering your crew, you get dead crew. And yeah, and they basically don't do anything. It's kind of like when you get curses in Slay the Spire. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of engines you can build with that, like making the dead crew do stuff. Okay, I'm going to play a little one first just so I can get the janitor in because he buffs everyone when he's successful. big numbers. It's really nice because you can get that feeling of like, oh, I've broken the game, because you can build the numbers up so high, but most of them aren't permanent, so you just get it within that match of like stacking these buffs to make really big numbers. But it's not like, oh, you've broken the game for the entire run when you do that. Where have we got radiation? Oh, days remaining 1. Oh, I need to get 1 star before the end of this. I can do that. That's the first time I'd seen the "you're running out of time" warning. Sorry, folks. I was just getting WhatsApped about work stuff and trying to work out what it was. Add an alien to your hand. I want an alien. I was supposed to be going for no crew. I just wanted to just all technology. Minimal crew. These cost stars? How does that work? I'm not sure. Pesky work. I didn't... Oh, we had a crash. Remix. 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 It's a remix. Don't know how we crashed it. You know what? I didn't get to find out what the alien does either. I had a card that was going to add an alien to my hand each time, and and the first alien, I just discarded it immediately and didn't read the text because, you know, what can I say? I'm a xenomorphophobe. I should have checked what it did. But we got a cool remix out of it. Thanks for joining. I do have another game on my list that I'm not going to have time to play, but I do think there is a public playtest. So I think what we should do is I'm going to put it in the chat, and you should go and, if you haven't seen anything I've done about Hazard Pay before or played the demo, I would really recommend playing this, because it's one of those block push puzzles, which is a genre of game that I usually don't get on with, but because of this ridiculous body disposal theme that the game has, I found it really interesting. So, long-time fan of this game. It was on the list, but I left it until last because we'd covered it before. So I might try and make sure this gets priority next month. But check it out in the meantime if it looks interesting to you, because it's a sort of darkly comic little dystopian puzzle game about pushing bodies and stuff around to cover up crimes. So yeah, have a look at that one. And thank you all for joining. If you are in the Discord, then good luck with your games. If you're not in the Discord, then good luck with your games. And next week, I'm looking forward to having a look at what's been submitted for the jam. But I'm probably going to have to go through and disqualify a bunch of stuff that clearly wasn't made for the jam, because apparently this is a problem on itch. Is people making games and submitting them to jams that they weren't made for. And I don't know how you deal with that problem, but it feels very maybe something that itch needs to work out a way to deal with, because they've made themselves into a jam hosting community, and I don't really want to have to police that. It's like I can look at the games and exclude the ones that clearly don't meet the rules of the game jam, but there should be a less manual way of making that work. Not sure. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'll catch up with you soon. I'll be back an hour before this on Thursday doing Indies Under the Knife, so pop into that or just watch it afterwards if you can't be there live. And well, hey, the